probably for like 5 or 6 years. It came up whenever I was married, and I had thought about it initially like, oh, it could be a really great space for, wives to get together and we can discuss. And I remember at that time my partner telling me like, well, how are you going to find guests? And how are you going to, and all of the doubt and everything. And so I sat on it for so long. And then I went through a divorce and I saw that side of life. And I had the opportunity to then talk to people experiencing that side of life and realizing like, if you don't have community, like we were talking about, you don't have the space to be vulnerable. And I needed a space. And I also was thinking about the woman who is up at 2 o'clock in the morning, scouring Google, trying to figure out how to save her marriage and
Mm.
let alone to save herself. So, it took time to just build the confidence to speak on this space, to speak on being divorced, being a single parent, because there's layers of shame in it that you have to work through
Mhm.
that most of us know, right?
Yeah.
And so once I finally built that courage up, I had the right people around me. I woke up on a Tuesday morning and I was like, we're going to do it. You don't need all of the fluff, you don't need the websites, you don't need all of the accolades. You can merely just tell your story and your testimony. And when I tell you like the way that God showed favor over it and the community that he brought within it. So the woman in between, it is a safe place where we navigate our transitions with grace. So we are offering vulnerable stories for people to learn practical solutions, whether you are thinking about, going through a divorce, you're in the midst of it, you're recovering, right? You're a single parent. But at the same time, I think that there's a lesson in it for anyone. So you don't necessarily have to be in those seasons if it still resonates with you, but it is a place where we can offer grace and you can leave there feeling like, okay, I'm not alone
Mhm.
and there is a path forward and I can actually thrive after
That's good.
this.
Mhm.
So, the
That's good.
long-winded answer.
No, it was perfect. That was good. I mean, and thank you for creating that space,
Yeah,
That's
I think
very necessary.
when I first got into it, it was a little hard for me because no, I didn't have that model. Like how we were talking earlier, you have to have the modeling of it to know like what steps do you take. And for me and my family, a lot of people have been married 20, 30 years.
Well, amen for
And
that. If I
yeah,
can say it, amen for that anyway,
amen.
but that's valid too, right? People don't know how to that's so good because I feel like I've learned in so many ways that I didn't want to have to learn. And I tell people we have to teach our kids how to fall.
Yes.
We do. We have to teach them how to fall, because life isn't perfect. And one thing about this wonderful, intricate thing called choice is people have it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you can't, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much and I believe in prayer. But if you use prayer as what you feel is like fairy dust, then you'll get frustrated with prayer because you can pray for your spouse to change or manifest certain behaviors, if you will. That's not what it's for. Because they still get to choose. We can ask God
Yes.
to touch their heart, and God can touch it, and they still can say no. So choice is a thing, and we have to teach our kids how to fall and how to deal with those moments where all your prayers to save your marriage. Because, girl, I told the Lord, I said, let me tell you, God, I know what you did for Abraham, honey, when you pulled that ram in that bush.
Do
I
it for
know you
me.
about to pull the ram out for me. You hear me? So people was like, girl, how you doing? I was like, girl, waiting on this ram. Okay, this ram is coming. I know it is. Amen. I know this ram is on the way. I just know this is a false alarm. False alarm, everybody. We just was separated. We ain't getting divorced. Baby, false alarm was a real alarm. This is not a test. This is not a drill. And I got
Seriously.
divorced and was devastated. You hear me?
Because I read a quote that said, you were born looking like your parents and you die looking like your decisions.
Ooh.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Woo!
yeah. So I was like, what will you look like in your casket? Because we have free will. And that's the beautiful thing about God as well. God gives us free will to make those decisions.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about while we were sinners, Christ died for us. Like it's this decision we get to make, which is a powerful thing because I know as a dad with my kids, I tell my wife all the time, like, let them hang themselves. They'll be okay. Let them, they'll be okay.
But
And then
that
they'll come
fathering is
back.
different than that mothering, though.
It's different. Oh yeah, for sure. But
Because if we could have some of that father dust, amen, sometime.
Yes. Yes. Say it again.
We need a little father dust. Amen. I swear. But let me tell you, if I can be honest, I think that's what I tell my reality is I mourn that the father does. I mourn the husband does that has the father does because I am not a dad. I love being a woman. I don't want to look like a man, smell like a man, act like a man. Don't Father's Day me. Don't do none of the things. I am a mother. So, with that being said, I'm aware that there's such a beautiful aspect to you being a dad and a husband, Sean, right? There's a contribution that you bring to the home that I mourn, because I don't have that anymore. And so, that's beautiful. Like that's an absolute. So even though I'm teasing to say I wish I had father dust, but it's really I just want the man Jesus, just the man with the father dust. Okay, but it's because that's the why God is. I feel like that's why God is smart because He knows that the community of us both bring this wonderful aspect to the development of our children, to the consequential life of our children. Sometimes the consequences in my daughter's life get forgotten about because I'm a nurturer and I forgot you was on punishment. And I gave you something I wasn't supposed to give you. I forgot.
yep. Oh yeah, yeah,
That
daddy.
is huge.
Yeah, daddy, don't forget. I'll be like, you did what? No, go ahead on about your business. Go back in that room. uh, Jaleesa, you've been through a divorce. What did you learn about yourself while going through the divorce process?
Oh my goodness. I'm like, how much time do we have?
We got time
Um,
today.
we really do have time. You know, I feel like one, I definitely learned how resilient I am and how many plates I can really spin at the same time. So when I got divorced, I think he said it on a Sunday. I filed by Monday. The house was on the market the next week. We were divorced in 3 months. I had gotten a new job. Like I was ready, but I wasn't ready for that whirlwind, right? They don't tell you like there's the legal piece and then there's the emotional piece that's all entangled in there. And when I look back at those 3 months still, I'm like, I could not tell you how I got through it, but Jesus. And so that's when I realized it's like you can do a lot. You can do quite a few things and you can manage and you can still show up for people. And I think that is what helped me start to do like side businesses, right? And being able to be more involved in some hobbies because I realized if you could get through that situation heartbroken and distraught, baby girl, you can look out for you. You can do things for yourself. Like you have the skill set. So it really helped kind of establish some confidence for me. But I think another piece when I first entered into the divorce season, and it was my therapist that told me this when I was describing to her where I was emotionally. She said, she's like, Jaleesa, you are struggling with self-worth. Like
Hmm.
I had stayed in that relationship and allowed the emotional abuse, physical abuse, I allowed it to eat at me to a
Hmm.
point where I was a shell of myself.